Hey!
Hey there!
How's it going? My name's Taryn.
And I'm Tate.
And welcome back to Plant That Sis podcast.
The podcast all about plants.
What's up, guys? Welcome back.
Hello! How is it going?
How's it hanging? How are you, Tate?
I'm good. Great. How are you, Taryn?
I'm doing pretty good. Feeling
pretty good?
good?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited about this episode.
Me too. To talk about one of the best houseplants you can get. There, I said it. One of the best ones.
It is one of
Fight
the best.
me on it.
And our plant of the month, the peace lily. A true classic. Tate, why don't you hit us with your research?
All right. Well, you guys are going to be kind of disappointed today because I could not find a lot of info about like the background or ecology of this plant. Any and all sources I could find about the peace lily were literally just about how to care for it as a houseplant and like it's what it can do as a houseplant. So, yeah, basically all I could really find was that it is kind of northern to southern Mexico, Central America, a little bit of South America. So
did you just say northern? You mean native?
Northern?
Native to?
Yes, native to. I don't know what I said. I probably just slurred my speech because I have speech issues. But it is native to, from what I could find, southern Mexico and Central America. So I couldn't really find specifics on this, but it definitely seems like it's native to a more tropical kind of environment where it is, or mainly grows kind of in the shade. So this plant is a shade lover. She's kind of shady.
She's a little shady.
If you know what I mean.
Part of why we love her.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of all I have. So sorry, y'all. I know
it's the species name is a Spathaphylum, right?
There should be one more after that. It is in the Spathaphylum, genus. But I think
the family is the Araceae. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say that, but it's something with an A. I know it's like in the same family as the flamingo flower.
Yeah, Araceae. Yeah, you're right. Araceae. Genus. Yeah, so it's Spathaphylum Wallysia, I think is how you say that.
You gotta get that double I.
Wallysia.
E-I.
Has the two I's, yeah.
E-I.
Yeah, so here are Peace Lily remix mixtape dropping.
Hey.
Yeah. You can find that soon on Apple Music. No,
available now on iTunes.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yes, Spathaphylum Wallysia.
And there's a bunch of different kinds of peace lily, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, I think, one of them. But yeah, Araceae is the family, or Araceae, sorry. I'm probably pronouncing this all wrong. I apologize if that's not correct. But the genus is Spathaphylum. So there's a lot of different kinds of, I don't want to say peace lilies, but plants that are like peace lilies in this genus.
If you have never seen a peace lily before and you're like, what the heck even is that? It is a beautiful bushy plant. So it kind of grows from the center out and it has big, dark green, glossy lance-shaped leaves that get bigger over time. And this plant can get pretty big. So big, gorgeous, dark green leaves. And why I think it's so popular is because it will bloom really all year long. It can bloom really at any time. It blooms these white, they're kind of, it's hard to describe. I'm sure there's a better way to describe it than what I'm about to describe it as, but they're white blooms and they are kind of like a little spiky flower looking thing with like a half hood around it, kind of like a snake.
Yeah, like the quote flower is kind of glossy like a leaf, if that makes sense. So it's kind of not like your traditional flower, but yeah, it has like this half hooded thing around this spiky cone structure. It's very pretty, very cool looking. I'm assuming most people have seen it.
The reason it's called a peace lily supposedly is because those white flowers that it blooms, obviously it's kind of like raising the white flag, so it represents peace. It's a very classic houseplant that's been around a long time, which I feel like it's funny, Tate, because when we did our plant of the month spider plant episode, I feel like it was kind of the same way. Like those houseplants that are that classic and have been classic houseplants for so long, it's almost harder to find real info on because it's been circulated around for such a long time.
Exactly. Like it's been used as a houseplant for so long that most people, like I guess where we live and on the internet, just think of it as a houseplant. And I couldn't really find much info about it like out in nature, because at one point in time it did exist out in nature doing its own thing before we cultivated it.
It does make sense though that it was kind of in a rainforesty type of environment because of how much it loves water.
Yes, exactly. It likes a lot of moisture and it does not like a lot of sun. So it totally makes sense. I could see this thing growing on like, the forest floor somewhere. There's probably not a whole lot of light that can kind of get to the forest floor because there's so many trees. So it just has adapted to survive with low light conditions.
Which is another reason we love it.
Yes.
So as far as care goes for this houseplant, as we just said, it is a low light lover. Remember, low light still needs to have light. You can't give it no light or it's not going to really do what you want it to do. And especially if you're wanting it to give you big, giant, gorgeous, glossy green leaves, you're going to have to give it some decent light, a little bit of sun. But it definitely does not like direct sun.
Yeah, like I had mine. It was getting like just maybe like an hour of direct sun, a little bit. And it was morning sun, so I thought it would be okay. But no, the leaves started to burn.
Ooh.
So yeah, take it from me. Definitely put it somewhere where it's getting indirect sun to shade. But yeah, does not mean no light. Needs something.
Also, like we just mentioned, it loves lots and lots of water, which for a overwaterer like myself, I love this.
But also it's very vocal. So like when it needs water, it will droop and it will tell you. So that's what I like about it too, because sometimes I never know like when to water something if it's, not that vocal. The peace lily, the leaves you will visibly see the leaves kind of start to droop a little bit. And that's a good indication of it needing water. Or a lot, yeah. It's very vocal, so.
Another shameless plug. We did our episode number 9, Divas and Drama Queens, and this is definitely one of the big drama queens. Not so much a diva, as in hard to take care of, but like Tate said, it's super vocal, and she will absolutely flatten if you wait too long to give her water. But she bounces back.
It's honestly kind of cool to watch. Like, I mean, obviously you can't like literally watch it. It would take so long, but if it's drooping, you water it, you give it like a couple hours, or even the next day you come back and it is full back up to where it was.
Yeah, great time-lapse material.
Oh, yeah. As far as the soil goes, so like we said, these plants or peace lilies like, water, but the soil does need to drain well and stay moist at the same time. So you just want to make sure that it has like holes in the bottom of the container that it's in, so that any excess water isn't just like sitting at the bottom. It can kind of drain out, because that can cause root rot, like we've talked about a lot before on this podcast. And no one likes root rot. The plant certainly won't like any root rot at all. So basically how I do it is, again, like I mentioned before, if the top inch of the soil is kind of dry and the plant is looking a little droopy, it's time to water it again. And like we said before, this plant's very vocal, so it's kind of an easier one to manage the water, I think.
For sure. And it's, again, you want to make sure that it has drainage, but I will say I often will walk by and just dump whatever's left of my cup of water in there, just because I know it's thirsty. She's thirsty and she likes a good sip of water all the time. And so far I haven't had any overwatering issues, which we all know I struggle with. So I think as long as you have drainage, you should be good to go.
Agreed. And as far as like the soil type, I mean, I couldn't really find any like specific, soil types, but I think anything that can retain at least a little bit of moisture. So, I mean, if you just want to go potting soil, that's fine. If you want to make your own, that's fine too. But definitely don't make like a cactus or, something that's going to dry out real easily.
Unlike a lot of things, or not things, but plants we talk about, I feel like we're always talking about aerating the soil additives, how to make sure that you are getting enough drainage. This is not a plant that needs a ton of drainage.
Yeah.
This could probably do straight up out of the bag potting mix and would be just fine. I have also seen them growing in straight up water. Like if you get almost like a fishbowl looking, it's got to have lots of room for its roots, but I've seen them survive in just straight up water, which I think is so cool, and I would love to try sometime. And another note about the water of this plant, or watering this plant, I should say, is it can be a little sensitive to chemically water, basically. It'll get those brown edges, signifying that there's too much fertilizer or too many chemicals or too many salts going on in your soil.
Or just like minerals in the water.
Right.
Maybe.
It's real sensitive basically to what kind of water. So you want to make sure that if you're a bottom waterer, you want to make sure once in a while you give it a good kind of flush through the soil, and that'll help balance that soil out a little more and hopefully help with those brown edges and brown tips. It can also get those brown edges and tips from low humidity. It does it's not a super high humidity needing plant, even though I'm sure it would love being in the high humidity. But that is another cause. If you have brown tips or edges, that might be why as well.
Good to know. Yeah, mine actually does have a little bit of browning. And I think it's the sun. I think it was getting a little too much direct sun. But also I think we just have super hard water here. Like we have a lot of minerals in the water. So maybe that could be something. But Taryn, you've had one for a long time. Yes. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the Miss Peace Lily?
We all know I stand a good peace lily. I love it because I'm an overwaterer and I can water it all the time, and it likes it and appreciates my over loving. So I love the peace lily. Also, of course, the fact that it's a low light plant means it can go in a lot of different places in my house and doesn't take up that prime real estate that some other plants need.
Yeah.
And it can still get pretty big. Like mine is in I would say mine is in an 8-inch pot, and it is such a good little staple in the corner that I have it in. A statement, really. It can be a statement piece, and that's hard to find with low light and easy to care for plants. So I love mine. And I have also read that depending on your circumstances, obviously, depending on your environment, they are really hard to get to bloom because obviously when you first get the peace lily, they've been putting tons of fertilizer in it usually to get it to bloom, and they have ideal conditions, right? It's usually coming from a greenhouse with super high humidity and all of the things that would make this plant happy. And then you take it home and it's not as happy, and it's sometimes hard to get blooming again. But I will say I've had several blooms on mine. They are all pretty small, but over time I've had several blooms on mine, and it's always really exciting and gives you a big boost of confidence when it starts to push out a bloom because you're like, I did it, even though you really didn't do anything. So I love it.
How often do you fertilize yours?
Never. I'm gonna start.
Really?
Remember, I'm not very good at fertilizing, so I'm gonna make my worm tea today, which I was gonna ask you, Tate, again how you do it, because you're supposed to let it steep for a while, right?
I mean, you could look up online like actual recipes, but honestly, I just winged it. So I just let the casting sit in water for a couple days. But I don't think you need to do it that long. I think it just it's
cool.
I don't know. It's easy.
So that's my plan. Honestly. I'm gonna get all of my house plants fertilized with the worm castings that I bought, and we'll see.
Which in the future you don't need to buy them.
I know, but I was waiting for your OS for too long.
I can give you some.
I was like, I'm just gonna buy some freaking worm castings.
Hey, I get it.
Maybe I'll have to just make my own vermicompost. If you're interested in hearing about a vermicompost, making your own worm bin, check out our last episode. How many plugs of episodes do I think I can get in this one episode?
If you're interested about the spider plant,
you gotta do it. But I really haven't seen any blooms in a while, of course, because we've been in the non-growing season. So I'm excited to, now that it's brighter and sunnier and I'm gonna fertilize, we'll see if my peace lily starts blooming again.
Yeah, I'm gonna start fertilizing.
And Tate, yours that you're referring to is gorgeous, but it's a new addition, right?
It's a new addition. So I've had this one. Oh man, I'm so bad at keeping track of time. But it's newer. It was given to me. It was this big, beautiful, luscious plant that was so gratefully given to me. Very thankful for it. And it is awesome. I kind of had it where it was getting a little bit of morning sun. I thought it would be, it's mostly like indirect sun all day, but in the morning it does shine through. So I think it was maybe a little too much for it. But other than that, I've moved it now to the shade, and honestly, I moved it to a spot where I wanted it to go originally. I should have just put it there originally. And it looks really good. It's really happy. It's my first, like, big plant, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never had a plant this big, and I love how the leaves look. Like, the leaves look so pretty. Like, okay, you know Marie Kondo, and she has those, like, her whole thing is, you know, you should only have things that spark joy.
Yep.
In your life.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I finally understand what she means by that, because every time I go to that piece of it just, like, brings me so much joy. The fact that it's there, it's
stunning.
I love it.
It really is such a gorgeous plant.
I love it. And it's easy.
Yes.
It's an easy plant. It's not hard. Like, I was a little, like, when you got one, I was like, like, a little intimidated, because I was like, I don't know if I could take care of that, because I'm so lazy, and I don't have a schedule, and I just kind of wing it half the time with my plants, if I'm being honest. And no, this plant's easy.
It's so easy.
I love it. I'm going to start fertilizing it because I want it to get more blooms out of it now.
Ooh, and yours is so big.
So big and happy, like, I guess.
Honkers.
Yes. We love some big honkers on our plants.
Oh.
Can I get a retweet? Just kidding. I don't think that's how it works. But yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to objectify my plant. Okay, I love my plant for who she is.
Hey, Tate, let me ask you. This is a little bit random and not on topic for this episode, but I'm curious. How's your Staghorn Fern doing?
Ooh, my Staghorn Fern is doing great. So it was kind of looking not that good, honestly, for a little while when I first got it, just because I didn't think I knew how to really care for it. But I got a spray bottle, so I've been, misting it up in there. It's getting misty. And actually, in doing that, some of my other ferns that also were looking at that good are coming back as well. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, it's looking good. I missed it. I have some of my worm tea in that spray bottle now, so it's not like super concentrated worm tea, but it has just a little bit, and I can definitely tell, like, the leaves look a lot more like that dark green.
Ooh, yeah.
A lot less, it just looks happier, honestly. And yeah, it's doing good. I have it up on the wall. It looks so pretty.
That's a good idea.
It's great. Yeah.
Ooh, you hung it on the wall?
Well, I didn't hang it. I want to. But where I live, they technically don't allow you to drill into the wall. We'll see if we'll see what happens. Something may mysteriously happen to the wall right there. And I'm not saying I'm drilling into it, but
I mean, considering the condition in which you moved into that place, I don't know. I feel like a little hole in the wall shouldn't be a big deal, but we all know how
it's so
that
funny
goes.
you say that, because when we renewed our lease, they were like, we either need someone to come take a look at the property, or you need to send pictures of it. So we just, like, took a picture of every room and sent it, and they were like, that's perfect, thanks. So I think they were also concerned about the state of this house because of how it was last time. But yeah, it is up. It's currently right now it's in my bathroom, and it's kind of like leaning on my towel, like where the hanger for the towels. I've just that's been used for plants now. I don't hang towels on it. It's got plants hanging off of it and stuff. So it's just up there, and it looks really good on the wall. So yeah.
Yay, that's so good.
I love it. How's yours doing?
Mine's doing pretty good. I haven't given any, like, fertilizer or anything, so that's a good idea.
I bet it'll like it. And you don't,
I
don't think you want to mix a whole lot. Like, you don't want it to be super concentrated, because if you spray it a lot, then it'll get a lot, maybe too much. But I just put, like, just a little bit.
Just a little taste.
The water's just a little it's a little, you can tell it's not normal water. It's a little brown. Looks a little gross. That's okay.
Looks like worm tea.
Plants like it a little gross,
They do. They really do.
You know how plants are.
They like it a little dirty.
They do. How's your jewel orchid, by the way?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that, Tate, because guess what I did yesterday?
What?
I finally got around to setting up my little terrarium.
Hell yeah. Nice.
It looks okay. I bought all the items as far as soil goes. Like, I bought the horticultural charcoal, and I have pumice and orchid bark and blah blah blah. So I bought all the supplies there, and I got a lot of that preserved or dried moss for decoration, basically, to go around it. But I didn't have any good, like, stones or pieces of wood or anything to put in there, so I didn't have any like real structural additions to add. Plus, I really only had the jewel orchid, which when I took it out, it it basically divided into two. It was like two different,
Ooh, yeah.
which I didn't really realize at first. So that was cool. But I planted those in there. And then I also did throw a cutting of a lipstick plant that I have, that I had growing in sphagnum moss, and it had all these crazy roots, so I just stuck it in there. I know it's not really a terrarium plant. We'll see how it goes.
See what happens.
But it just needed like another pop of something. It was so lonely in there by itself because it's a pretty big terrarium. So I'm not super in love with how it turned out, but I think the plant will be happier. The jewel orchid will be a lot happier in there with all that moisture retentive stuff rather than just sitting in there in its pot, which is what it had been doing.
That's what mine's doing right now.
So I'm excited to see. And I think if it goes well, then maybe I'll kind of, in a couple of months, maybe get some more actual terrarium plants and redo that terrarium with some more of a plan going into it rather than just kind of winging it.
Yeah, we could totally, like, go find some cool stuff to put in there, like some cool, like, sticks and rocks and stuff. I mean, you could also buy them online if you wanted to, but also, like...
Why not forage the lands?
Yeah, let's just go forage, you know?
Yeah.
We're not taking anything alive. We're just taking some sticks and rocks. We're not,
Yeah, just a couple small things.
Yeah, just little things here and there, you know?
Small terrarium. We're not looking for boulders.
One of my professors was talking about how when he was doing some work at some state park at some point in his career, and like they had people there that would go and poach mushrooms. So like they had to like have people watching and making sure there wasn't anyone collecting all the mushrooms in this like park one time. Isn't that crazy? I didn't think about that. Like I see videos of people doing that and I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool. But then my conservation biology professor was like, well, actually, it can't be a problem.
It's actually not that cool.
Yeah, so I've been trying to be more conscious of, like, what I... Like, I mean, I don't really take that much. I don't take anything, really, but, like, I don't know. I don't want to advocate on the podcast, like, yeah, go out into your national park and take all kinds
and
of...
start taking everything
plants
you want.
And wildlife. Yeah, that's great. That's not going to cause any problems at all.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, if one person's doing it, it's probably okay. But, you know, if everyone wants to do it, which everyone probably would want to do it because it's cool.
It's one thing, too, I feel like if you live right next to this big wooded area, it's like in your backyard type of thing. Not that it's your backyard, but in your
You can kind of just like step outside, go get a couple and come back. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Yeah. Ugh. That's a dream.
I know. I see these TikToks sometimes of people foraging stuff in their little like
yes, me too.
backyard woods, whatever. It's so cute.
One day you can just come over to my place and just forage because, you know, I'm going to live out in the woods somewhere by myself in a cabin.
Yes, I'll come to you.
It's going to be great.
When I leave the people. I could never live out in the middle of nowhere because I'm too paranoid.
No, I'm just kidding.
Scary.
Yeah, I am too.
Even when I'm out in the woods by we used to, that apartment we lived in college when me and Kyle lived together had all those like walking trails,
all that wooded areas,
which was awesome. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I would go, and after like the first few times, I was like, okay, because the entire time I was freaking out. But then I was like, okay, maybe if I listen to music, I'll calm down. But of course, that made it worse because I had headphones in, which made me feel even more like somebody was going to be behind me or poking out from somewhere. So I don't know. But if I'm not by myself, then it's all good.
Yeah, I feel that. I was doing field work once, and we had to get to the like nature area at like 4:30 in the morning to set stuff up while it was still dark. And so we were out there setting it up, and it was honestly scary.
Yeah,
like
dude.
Being out in the wilderness when there's like there's no lights, there's nothing. I had a headlamp on, and that's like all I could see, and it was like not that bright. Dude, me too, honestly. I live for a good headlamp.
So funny.
And it was so dark, and at one point we could literally hear like coyotes in the background just like howling. It was so ominous.
Spooky.
Yeah. So anyways, if you want to make a terrarium, I'm trying to tie this back to the terrarium.
Let's jump back. Terrarium. Back to Staghorn ferns. Back to what the episode is about.
We'll have to... Ooh, you know what you can do? You should post a pic of your terrarium, and then if you ever do redo it, you could do a little before and after.
Ooh, yeah.
You know?
The only thing that's hard about terrariums is like taking a picture of glass is hard. And I know there's tricks out there, so I just need to take the time to figure it out. But
the glare.
Yeah, it's tricky to make it look good, but I will definitely work on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you guys have a peace lily, we would love to hear what your experiences are or to see pictures of your beautiful peace lily that you have. You can find us on Instagram at plant.sis. You can also find us on YouTube at plant.sis. Twitter, plant.sis. You guys know the drill at this point. We also have a website that's a little bare bones, but we are working on it. It is plant.sis.com.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Is that right? Yes, plant.sis.com. You can find us there. And if you want to email us, find us at our email at plant.sis. Wait, I said at too many times and I confused myself. Our email is plant.sis@gmail.com. That's what I'm trying to say.
If you want our direct line.
I just took like 5 minutes to explain that.
I would love to hear.
This is why Taryn usually does the plugs at the end, because I just
you're
can't.
Fine. You're doing great, Tate. I think you nailed it. I would love to hear. I'm sure there's people out there who inherited a peace lily from a parent or a grandparent that's been surviving in the same pot for years and years and years. So if you have any old school peace lily stories, we would love to hear them.
Yeah. Or really any peace lily stories at all.
Yeah, or really anything.
Please share
Just
with
talk
us.
to us. We would be like so thrilled to hear from you.
Like literally anything, like plant related at all. Not plant
Even
related.
not plant related, I'm sure we'd be like, oh my gosh, hey.
Ooh. Before we go, I do want to say peace lilies are not good for animals.
Oh yeah, they can be toxic.
So if you have a cat or a dog that really likes to eat, and maybe Terry, you might, I don't know if you want to like edit this in somewhere earlier, but yeah, peace lilies are also not good for like pets. So if you have a cat or a dog that's like really into eating leaves of plants or into like messing with your plants, maybe try to at least put it somewhere where they can't get to it, or maybe just avoid it. I have a friend that has a cat that's like really into eating her plants, so she can't really have plants because and this would not be a good idea for her. So just FYI.
Good tip. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love to hear from you, and we will see you next time.
Yes, thanks again.
Bye-bye.